think so.
I could have your attention for a moment. If some of you would come around so you're able to this area, you might better be able to hear the proceedings and see those who are participating in the proceedings. For those of you present that I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Lou Land, Executive Vice President of Lakeview Development of Canada Limited. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the official sod turning ceremonies for the Lakeview Airport Executive Center. We can guarantee that you will not get wet during these ceremonies, but couldn't, of course, at the construction site. We very much appreciate your coming here to celebrate with us the commencement of construction of that project, which will bring the City of Winnipeg's airport area a much-needed, attractively designed, mixed-use development with Winnipeg's first all-suite hotel, and are very pleased that it will be under the Radisson banner, an organization of international stature operating a group of the finest hotels in the world. I should now like to introduce to you the following dignitaries taking part in these ceremonies. Mr. John Olson, Vice President, Development, the Radisson Hotel Corporation. Mr. Ted Theobald, Vice President of Operations, Radisson Hotel Corporation. The Honorable George Meinecker of the federal government. The Honorable Jerry Ducharme, Minister of Urban Affairs and Housing and for the provincial government. His Worship Mayor William North, City of Winnipeg. It's a great honor for me to introduce the person I am about to introduce to you. He is well known to everybody here, and indeed has to a large degree, needs no introduction, I'm sure, to all of you. His great talents, energy, creativity are known throughout the industry. He's an innovator and never heard of the words, "can't be done." His creative talents have changed the face of downtown Winnipeg, as well as many other areas of this city, where of the almost $1 billion of development values produced since 1964, 50% was created in his beloved home base, the city of Winnipeg. His projects dot the landscapes of many major cities in the United States as well: Dallas, Phoenix, Denver, Minneapolis, Omaha, and the list goes on. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to call upon Jack Levitt, president of the many Lakeview Group of companies, to speak to you.
In case anyone here feels that this is an unlucky start, I'd like to assure them that, in my opinion, having a sod-turning ceremony at the same time as a desperately needed rain is a sign from the heavens that we are being blessed. Mr. Olson, Mr. Theobald, the Honorable George Meinecker, the Honorable Jerry Ducharme, His Worship Mayor William Norton, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Lakeview sod-turning ceremony. The Executive Center being built on Wellington and King Edward is an important step in the progress of Winnipeg. Certainly, the magnificent Radisson All-Suite Hotel in itself will be a fine addition to the other fine buildings recently completed or under construction in Winnipeg. However, we have fallen behind in creating the proper first impression of Winnipeg, which we know is very important to the vitality and growth of a city. Winnipeg downtown has been sadly neglected for many years and is now being rapidly transformed into a great modern urban center that will soon take its place amongst other modern downtown city centers. This new look is needed and will attract new business and badly needed tourism to Winnipeg. Winnipeg certainly has its share of beauty. During our beautiful spring, summer, and fall seasons, we create a lasting impression. Our weather during most of the year is more comfortable than almost any city in the world. We have a difficult 4 months, but the other wonderful 8 months are worth waiting for. Our international airport is taking on a great new look, and soon the Executive Center will continue this new look as you drive down Wellington Avenue. The Executive Center will create a positive first impression of our city. Lakeview have been the innovators of many Winnipeg firsts, some of which were Canadian firsts. During the early 1970s, we developed Lakeview Square, which was followed by other major downtown buildings, a number of which we were responsible for. Lakeview built Winnipeg's first 2 skywalks to the Convention Center, which was the start of the skywalk system, and when fully completed, will change the lifestyle of people working and shopping in downtown Winnipeg. Lakeview built the Courts of St. James, fully integrated complex, which was the forerunner to other large integrated apartment developments in Winnipeg. Lakeview developed the downtown Holiday Inn, and then this magnificent Sheraton, which is now in 3 short years Winnipeg's leading hotel. Lakeview has developed many large suburban garden apartment complexes. We conceived the first multiple warehousing complex called Sargent Place. We built the towers of Polo Park, the first high-rise precast concrete building in Winnipeg. This is a short list of our developments in Canada, and we have done many in the United States. Lakeview is now building Winnipeg's first all-suite hotel, the magnificent luxury Radisson Hotel. Bringing the Radisson name to Winnipeg is another first we're very proud of. Since Radisson was born out of the Carlson Corporation based in Minneapolis, we in Winnipeg are more familiar with this outstanding corporation than are most Canadians. Mr. John Olson, who is here representing the Carlson Corporation, will certainly tell you more of this remarkable company. Lakeview has recently become very closely associated with the Carlson Company through its agreement to build 122 moderately priced country inn hotels throughout Canada, the state of Florida, Grand Forks, and Fargo. Each hotel will have approximately 80 rooms, and many will have a very innovative country store. Although this development program is slated to be completed over a 10-year period, we are confident that we will cut this time in half. We are presently negotiating for over 20 locations in Canada and the United States, and will very soon begin construction of approximately 10 of these hotels, all to be completed within 12 months. I'm confident that this will rapidly escalate to the point where we will open a country inn every 2 weeks. Lou Landa is our location acquisition expert and is buying land on a fast track. Lou has also been appointed president of this division of the Lakeview Group of Companies. My son Keith Levitt, Drew Irwin, and Joe Van Bellingham are in charge of raising capital for this program and are in high gear. Paul Grieger is in charge of construction, and he's ready. Morris Salem is in charge of management and is getting ready. Ed Kalminski is in charge of architecture and design. Philip Wise is in charge of furnishing and equipping the hotels. Jack McJan is heading our legal requirements. And I'm getting in everybody's way. We've constructed sample rooms and suites, which are completely furnished and ready for viewing. And they are located at the Course of St. James. You're welcome to join our touring groups for this purpose. We will be building a country inn on the King Edward site behind the Radisson Hotel. And if you have the opportunity, drive down King Edward and you'll see the country inn sign, which will indicate the location of this hotel. When you visit our sample rooms and suites, you will notice our new movie bar. This is another Lakeview innovation and will be placed in every room of the Radisson Hotel and Country Inns. We already have this product in our 3 Sheraton hotels. My daughter Diane is in charge of this division of Lakeview, and she will be pleased to describe this new idea to you. Remember to ask her to show you our computerized video vendor. This is a remarkable piece of equipment and is based on the popular bank money machine concept. Movie Bar is presently in a number of Canadian and United States and also Australian hotels, and will be expanding worldwide. I would like to thank the Royal Bank for providing Lakeview's major financial requirements during the past 35 years, and First City Trust for providing mortgage funds for the Executive Center. I especially would like to thank Joyce Peterson, Lakeview's Vice President of Residential Properties, for the wonderful job she performed in arranging today's event. Thank you for being here and sharing our excitement. I will now return the proceedings to Lou Landa, and we'll see you at the opening in about a year. Thank you.
As a memento of this occasion, I'd like to present this to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person I'm going to be introducing to you is seated next to Jack Levitt on his right. John Olson is Vice President of Development for the Radisson Hotel Corporation. He also happens to be a specialist in Russian affairs. And while not an expert in speaking Russian, the Russian language, with his outstanding charm, wit, knowledge of every aspect of the hotel industry, and salesmanship, he was able to conclude an agreement whereby Radisson and its country hospitality inns and suites will shortly be seen in that country, as well as in the Scandinavian countries. It has been my great pleasure to be associated with him in the development of this project and our very exciting $500 million country hospitality inns and suites program in Canada, the state of Florida, and the cities of Fargo and Grand Forks. I now introduce to you Mr. John Olson.
Thank you, Louis. That's a bit challenging for a big guy to climb in this little cockpit here. I'm happy to be here today. I've always loved Winnipeg and have had an opportunity in the last 30 years to come to your beautiful city many times. And I'm happy that Bill Norrie is here, your good mayor, and the distinguished guests from the provincial and federal government. I welcome them too. I think this is really Radisson country because of the fact that back in the 1700s, Pierre Esprit Radisson helped settle and colonize the provinces of Manitoba, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and the state of Minnesota. In 1909, when our first Radisson Hotel was built in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, the developers chose Radisson as the banner, or the sign of that hotel. In 1962, a young entrepreneur, an aggressive businessman who reminds me a lot of Jack Levitt, named Kurt Carlson, bought that hotel. He bought it as a tax shelter to shelter income he was making from big revenue in the gold bond stamp business. He didn't buy it because he liked the hotel business or because he planned to build hotels. He bought it because his accountant said, buy something to shelter your income. 23 years later, he had 23 hotels. And he liked the business and has made a lot of money. And as Ted Theobald will tell you more about that, he's done very, very well. That original hotel in Minneapolis was a favorite place to meet for weddings, for businesses, and conferences. And in fact, the rumor around the Twin Cities for many years was that it was the home of kings, rulers, emperors, presidents, and the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher football team. In the 70s, the hotel got old and tired, and rather than spending millions and millions of dollars to renovate it, our management determined to raise it from the ground through implosion, and we've subsequently rebuilt a $125 million hotel on that same piece of land the original Radisson was built 80 years ago. We always look upon Winnipeg as a friendly neighbor to Minnesota. After all, it's only a 1-hour flight on Northwest Orient to your great town. And on the flight this morning, looking through the in-flight magazine, I want to share something with you. Our ad this month says, some famous American presidents slept here, meaning Radisson hotels. And this basically tells you that through our massive Carlson travel group of over 850 travel agencies, including all of the P. Lawson in Canada, and I think at least a dozen here in Winnipeg, and I think some of the P. Lawson people are here today, represents the largest travel group in North America. Sells over 22,000 hotel rooms a day, over 3.5 million airplane tickets annually. And so I wanted to say that, and it's, I'm happy to be in a Sheraton for a sod turning event for Radisson. I love it, especially the way that. And I think Jack's words were very eloquent when he said, if you have to trade a rainstorm for a real sod busting event, we know what we'll do, especially as hot and dry as it's been. Radisson is a subsidiary of the $4.1 billion Carlson conglomerate based in Minneapolis. This company was started 50 years ago by Kurt Carlson, who, as I said, reminds me a lot of Jack Levitt. They're aggressive guys, they're nervous, they're always in a hurry, they'll take a risk to win.
He's older.
And they're entrepreneurial. Yes, he is. Kurt will be 79 the 9th of July. But he's still in the office every day, and he gets an arrow a little bit too, Jack. No, I like Jack's style because Jack's out on the line, I'll tell you. He's in the combat zone all the time. But this company now has grown into a collection of 170 hotels and resorts in 15 countries around the world. with over 41,000 rooms and suites. The value of Radisson invested hotels now exceeds $3.5 billion. And we're opening a new Radisson every 10 days. How about that for upscale hotels? The investment committed this year in 1988 for advertising and marketing Radisson in our worldwide RMA fund exceeds $16 billion. This beautiful new Radisson, of which there's pictures here in the lobby, and that Jack told about and Lou Landa has spoken about, is our first suite hotel in Canada. Now, Mr. Theobald will talk more about the suite business and that end of our industry. This hotel is franchised through Radisson, our company in Minneapolis, and in conjunction with a Commonwealth company out of Toronto. They acquired the exclusive rights to Canada last year and plan to do 23 new hotels in Canada. And Joyce, in your news release, you mentioned this was the second hotel. It's actually the fourth hotel, and there's 4 or 5 more coming online. You did a good job, and I didn't want to interfere with the great job you did. In closing, I want to say a couple of things, and that is simply that we like Winnipeg. We think it's a great city, a vibrant, aggressive city that's on the move, and it's in the center of Canada and the crossroads of Canada here in the prairies. We like Jack Levitt, his family, and his fine company, and Lou Landa, and all of the people at Lakeview. They're proven professional hotel people operating great hotels in Edmonton, in Hamilton, here in Winnipeg. And that brings me to my final and concluding comment dealing with Jack's announcement that we've agreed and signed to do 80 country hospitality inns between both oceans in Canada, to do 40 in Florida, and 2 in North Dakota. Now you probably wonder, how the hell did North Dakota get involved in this deal? But it simply is, and Jack and Lewis identified it, that Fargo and Grand Forks are 2 great feeder cities on the north-south highway system to Winnipeg. And our first Canadian country inn will be here, adjacent to the Radisson at the Winnipeg Executive Center. My final comment deals with our travel group, and that is simply that the Carlson Company, with over 815 travel agencies, represents the biggest travel movers in North America. We have traveled here in this country, all of P. Lawson's in Canada, in the Mr. Foster's United States. We have a group in Mexico and a handful in Scandinavia. And I'll give you one guess why we're in Scandinavia. Kurt Carlson needs a reason to go there. And in fact, Kurt's group, through the Viking Travel, they promoted the football game between the Chicago Bears and the Vikings at Gothenburg in August. I want to thank you. It's nice to be here. And if you have any questions, I'll be available after. Thank you very much.
Since he's only a little guy, it wasn't too much of a problem. By the way, John, here's our check for $45,000, which is the final payment due on the Canadian franchise. And as soon as I receive the bill for the Florida franchise, we'll be glad to pay that too.
That's in my briefcase.
I figured as much. As a memento of this occasion, please accept this on our behalf. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I should now like to call upon Ted Theobald, who is Vice President of Operations for the Radisson Hotels Corporation. Ted?
Thank you very much. As John said, all of us at Radisson are delighted to be here today, this day 1 of the first all-suite Radisson in Canada. We'd like you to know it's not our first all-suite property. We have 15 right now. We're operating 3,474 suites, and we have 742 units presently under construction and anticipate to be completed throughout 1988 and 89. There are 9 of these 19 is an indication of the amount of interest that there is in the all-suite market today in the hotel industry. There's great talk throughout North America of overbuilding in certain hotel segments, but the reality is that the all-suite concept is born out of market research. The customers are telling us that's what they want to have. They want to have more space, better price value. It's an interesting quote the recent publication of Business Travel News. This is the business travel people. And they're saying that Radisson is perceived to be one of the nicest of the upscale hotel companies and economic as well. Good price value. I think that's what this segment is all about. That accompanied by also the feeling of hospitality that people do not always get in our industry and in other parts of the travel industry. We have spent a great deal of money on research. One of the things that came across loud and clear was that people wanted service and recognition. We have put together a program called Yes I Can, and we use this throughout our company, and we've got tremendous recognition both from the industry and also from guests for this program. Basically what we're saying to our people is that when our guests arrive at the hotel, if it's legal and we can do it, we will try our darndest to do it. And that's what we try and do for all of our customers. John already mentioned, I think you should be forgiven for the news release, because when we're expanding at the rate of one hotel every 10 days, it's real easy to slip from 2 to 4. But that's the reality, that we have now, this will be our 4th hotel in Canada. Of course, we also have St. John's, Ottawa, and also Toronto at Don Valley. We've had phenomenal growth in the last few years. At the end of 1983, we had 39 hotels. At the end of 1987, we were already at 158. So we will be, at the end of this year, 200 hotels in the company. We're no stranger, as John said, to Canada. Everybody knows, I think, P. Lawson Travel, and that is one of our companies. So we're very familiar with the Canadian market, and we hope that this will certainly help us to make this hotel here in Winnipeg a really successful property, especially with the traveling business person. Basically, with this type of expansion, there are 2 ways to go. You either go out, if you want this type of growth, and you know, we're Carlson Company is a $4 billion company last year. You either go out and buy a company, as Ladbrokes did when they bought the Hilton, or you do what we want to do, which is you identify strong partners who do a great job in the market they know best, people like Lakeview, and we form a partnership with them, which is exactly what we have done here. We feel that at Radisson, we bring a great deal to the table. As a third-party endorsement, the American Association of Travel Editors every year rate hotel companies basically on quality and consistency, especially during periods of growth. We were delighted 2 years ago that we got the 5-star rating together with the Marriott Hotel Corporation, for which we have a great deal of respect. And this last year, 87-88, we are again with a 5-star rating, but the only other company with us is Hyatt. So it just goes to show the amount of energy that we're putting in to make sure that we do deliver to our customers what we are advertising to them. As I say, we're delighted to be here. We thought we did a very good thing last year, and it's now in Canada as well. We changed our toll-free number, and even I can remember it. You know, it's 800-333-3333. Even I can remember that. So we're going to be here in Winnipeg with the delightful people from Lakeview. We're very happy to be a part of this, and I really urge you all to call that number and try us, because I think you'll find that you will like us very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
We have always been very, very pleased with the assistance that has always been granted to us by all of the very fine people that work at the City of Winnipeg, whether it involves permits or zoning or any department at all. And we're very, very pleased, of course, that that cooperation we've been able to tell to any of the areas or cities where we went to do projects, that the cooperation that we got in Winnipeg was absolutely unbelievable. And I want you to know, Mayor Norrie, that we're indeed delighted that you're here, and we'd like you to pass that on to all those very fine people. Mayor Norrie, we would appreciate if you come forward and say a few words.
Thank you very much indeed, Lou. It's a very, very real pleasure to be here today. I didn't bring you your building permit with me, but it is available at the office if you'd like to call. It's a real pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to be associated with Jack Levitt, and a double pleasure today to have John Olson and Ted Theobald from the Radisson Group here with us today. You know, when I think of the effort and the vision that Jack Levitt has put into his enterprises, it's really quite outstanding. He is a man of tremendous energy, as you know, a man who is a risk taker, an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, and as well a very wise man. He has surrounded himself with very capable people, Lou Lando and the others that have been introduced today, and has also had the support of a tremendous family behind him or alongside with him, and even brought the future hotelier here today, his grandson, who is ready to take over when Jack decides to call it quits. But this must, Mr. Chairman, be the most unique sod-turning ceremony in the history of the city of Winnipeg. I'm sure the Radisson people will not really mind too much that we're going to dig up the carpet of the Sheraton Hotel. But the weather has changed, and we're happy about that, as been said. Rather unique and really quite significant, though, in many respects, that we are turning the sod for this tremendous development out near the airport in a property that Jack himself developed. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, certainly those of you from Winnipeg will know that in many respects, Jack was the forerunner of downtown redevelopment. Lakeview Centre really gave the impetus, along with the Convention Centre, back in the days of Metro government, inherited by the new city of Winnipeg, for the redevelopment of downtown. And Jack has been a visionary. He has seen the potential of this part of the city, and has really carried through, not simply with talk, but with real action. And Jack, we're delighted for your commitment to the city of Winnipeg. You've been a great Winnipegger, and you have really supported your hometown. You've had opportunities and made opportunities in other parts of the world, but in a very real sense, I feel that you feel that your roots are here, that you are a Winnipegger at heart, and you come back to do these wonderful projects. And in consideration of that, Councillor Eliasson and I and the Chief Commissioner of the city, Nick Dakew, who are both here today, decided that we would not send in the assessor for at least a couple of weeks. I want to congratulate, obviously, the partnership that has developed here. The name Radisson has long been associated with Minneapolis. When we thought of Minneapolis for many years, we thought of Radisson. They were synonymous. We have had good connection, fine connection with the city of Minneapolis and with many of our American friends. And this certainly goes a long way, Mr. Olson, to cement that relationship. In fact, the city of Winnipeg and the city of Minneapolis are twin cities. So please accept my congratulations and the congratulations of the city of Winnipeg for the Airport Executive Center. I think the suite concept is going to be a winner. It enhances the quality of life for Winnipeggers and also for visitors. And as Jack rightly said, and we made this comment when we were opening the new and renovated airport, that really that part of the city is very much the first impression that visitors traveling by air see, and as a result of that, this will be a great enhancement to that. So Jack, congratulations to you, to Lakeview, and to Radisson. It's a wonderful partnership, going to do very well, and certainly is very good for the city of Winnipeg. Thank you very much.
Mayor Norrie, I should like to present you with this plaque as a memento of this occasion. This gentleman I'm about to introduce is one with whom I've had a long association over many, many years as a former city councilor, and it's a great pleasure to have him here today. Jerry Ducharme, the Honorable Jerry Ducharme, is Minister of Urban Affairs and Housing for the province of Manitoba. Jerry Ducharme.
Thank you, Lou. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here and thankful for the opportunity to speak to you and bring greetings on behalf of Premier Gary Filmon. It is a pleasure for me to be here today for these ceremonies marking the official startup of this major complex, which will feature the Radisson Suite Hotel. On behalf of Gary, Premier Manitoba, I welcome representatives of Radisson Hotel Corporation. And of course, in this province, the name Radisson is not unfamiliar. The 17th century French explorer covered much ground from the Mississippi River to the Hudson Bay, was the first European pioneer and entrepreneur in this area. And so Radisson Hotel Corporation, now some 2 centuries later, falls in the same pioneer spirit with its first all-suite hotel in Canada right here in Winnipeg. Pierre Radisson sometimes worked alone, but more often than not worked with his partner, Mr. Grosseliers. Radisson Hotel Corporation has a partner as well in this endeavor, and that's Lakeview Development of Canada. And of course, Lakeview Development of Canada is also a very well-known name in this province, with its headquarters centered here in Winnipeg, and its many projects in the city, as already mentioned. Too many to list. Including the Royal Trust Building, the Lakeview Square Complex, the Intercity Gas Building, to name a few. On behalf of the Premier, I wish every success to this endeavor, and I'm sure that with the track record of both Lakeview and Radisson, this new complex will be a credit to the companies themselves, as well to the City of Winnipeg and the province. Again, thank you for inviting me to participate in the celebration of the official startup of this complex.
Gary, we'd like to present you with this plaque as a memento of this occasion, and I hope we'll see you in many more. Thank you very much. It's also a great pleasure to have with us George Miner, representing the federal government. And George, of course, was very, very active in the political scene in Winnipeg and was also a great friend and very helpful in our development activities. George Miner.
Mr. Minister, Mr. Mayor, and special guests, very pleased to be here today to bring greetings and congratulations to Lakeview Development and also to the Carlson Group on this great adventure that they're going to have in our riding Winnipeg St. James. And I'd particularly like to bring greetings from our Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney, and if I might, I'd like to read the greetings that will be in the capsule that will be sealed in a few minutes. And it's a quote. I am delighted to extend my greetings and best wishes to all those gathered here this afternoon for this sod-turning ceremony marking the commencement of the Lakeview Airport Executive Center. This development reflects the growth of the City of Winnipeg as a dynamic business center and will no doubt provide prosperity and opportunity for all. It is a reflection of the commitment of so many who devoted their time and energies towards this day. I wish you every success in this venture, Brian Mulroney. Well, as Lou indicated earlier, that I have had some chances to work with Lakeview Development through the years, and I would like to thank you, Jack, for discovering Winnipeg St. James again. I know the first time I met Jack was when I was Assistant City Engineer in St. James back in 1966, when he was in the industrial commercial development field, 23 acres, which grew and grew growth around it. Then we talk about the St. James Polo Park Towers and the St. James Courts of St. James. They're all investments that Lakeview saw fit to invest in the west end of Winnipeg. And then we were worried that for a while there, Jack, when you sort of disappeared. But thank you for coming back, and particularly Mr. Olson, thank you for making the decision to build this hotel center in Winnipeg, St. James, and particularly Winnipeg. It puts Winnipeg at the leading edge of the hospitality industry, and I think that's very important, particularly as a member of the Finance Committee for the Government of Canada. And a lot of us don't realize how much tourism and hospitality brings to Canada. And to give you an idea, it's $20 billion of directly generated revenues in 1986, or 4% of our gross national product. It also employs 600,000 Canadians, and the interesting thing that I think Jerry would be interested in as well, it generates $9 billion in federal and provincial and municipal taxes. So it not only brings growth in terms of jobs, it also brings growth in terms of revenue. I'd like to congratulate you again, and I hope that I'm working hard to be here for the opening when you have it in a year's time, Jack and John. And I'll be there with the Canadian flag that you can put up in your hotel, and I'm sure Mr. Olson will be there with the American flag. Congratulations.
George, I'd like to present you with this plaque as a memento of this occasion, and we very much appreciate your coming here. George has a plane to catch.
Get your check, Joe.
Checks in the mail.
I have a telegram here to read to you, and it really represents the first reservation for the new Radisson All-Suite Hotel. And the telegram is addressed to Mr. Jack Levitt, President, Lakeview Development of Canada, Ltd., 6th floor, 185 Carleton Street, Winnipeg, Manitoba. And it's from Mr. Joel Katz of the Graymont Group, Inc. in Los Angeles. Congratulations, Jack, on this very special occasion, the sod turning of the Airport Executive Center. I look forward to making the Radisson a regular stop of mine during my visit to Winnipeg. I'm sure that I can expect the finest in service and facilities. I would be honored to be the first one to book reservations at your new Radisson All-Suite Hotel. Again, Jack, congratulations on another very impressive undertaking. I have here another letter I should like to read to you from the Honorable Jake Epp, who's the Minister of National Health and Welfare. It was written to Mrs. Joyce Peterson, Vice President of the Residential Group, Lakeview Development of Canada. Dear Mrs. Peterson, I was pleased to receive your invitation to take part in the official beginning of the Lakeview Airport Executive Center on June 15 in Winnipeg. Regrettably, previous commitments do not allow me to be with you at the time in question. Please be assured that I and my colleagues appreciate the significance of this project to the community of Winnipeg. I am pleased that Mr. George Meinecker, MP, is able to be with you to bring greetings on my behalf, and on behalf of the Government of Canada. I wish you an exciting beginning of what is certainly a very interesting project. With all good wishes and kindest personal regards, sincerely, Jake Epp. We are now going to be going through the sod turning ceremony. And a very important element of that sod turning ceremony is the time capsule. The time capsule is commemorating the sod turning ceremony, and it's to be opened on Lakeview's 50th anniversary, which will be November 12, 2014. And Jack, we expect you to be there. The contents of the capsule include the June 15, 1988 edition of the Free Press and the Winnipeg Sun, a video cassette on the Airport Executive Center, the media kit which was handed out to all, the Prime Minister's and dignitaries' greetings, the Radisson flag and emblem, telegram of the first booking, and the guest book. We will now ask those participating in the ceremony to please move over to my left.
Joyce.
Okay, you certainly may.
Okay, everybody put in $100.
Yeah.
That's not a government loan.
You want Canadian or US?
With all that money, I can't go. Right, now if I could just my bets now. Right here and then come over and Charm and Ted and then Roy. Yeah, I would like you to do that. Together. And Rachel and then me or Lauren.
Just wait, please.
One trouble.
Wait,
Just my friend.
Do you want shovels?
We're actually digging this thing.
Want to turn this like me, that Jack? Right? Digging up the cart. There you go, Fred.
This is a charity card.
We come together, good job. Oh, no, I'm not.
We dig in your card.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Maybe.
I didn't know you were there.
Two shots? One more? Thank you very much.
Again, everybody, we thank you for coming out. There's food over to my right, and we ask you to indulge yourself. Thank you so much.
Remember me? Yeah. How you doing? Great. You? I see Pete every week. I haven't seen you for a while. Oh, you were at a meeting not long ago, actually. Looking forward to it.
Okay, you and me. You and my dad. That'll be nice. You and my dad.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. We'll have a local politician up there.
Yeah,
These are pets. And they're hooked up and they can sit in the string.
How'd you do?
Are you shooting? About 2 seconds. Ready? Turn your light off.
Downstairs.